Hey you guys, it's Lauren. Welcome back. So today's video is going to be a review of 14 concealers, and I'm so excited about this because out of this bunch, I think I finally found my holy grail concealer. It has been a while since I've really found something that has really stayed put throughout the day, has not completely dried out my under eye, accentuated my lines, sunk into my lines. I'm very excited because I don't know about you guys, but I almost gave up on concealer this year. It is the one product that I absolutely love. I feel like it's that one thing that really makes a difference when it comes to your makeup routine. It can make you awake, it cancels out your under eye bags. It just can do wonders if you look exhausted, which I had a baby this year, and I also have a 3.5-year-old. When I'm not at home, I'm at the hospital working 12-hour shifts, so I felt extra tired this year. So concealer's been that one makeup product that has been saving the day for me, but at the same time, concealer can go really wrong very quickly, and I've definitely noticed that more and more this year. I think, you know, with aging, I turned 35, I'm definitely drier than ever. My skin, especially now with the dry winter air, my skin is super dry, extra flaky. So I know for myself, I was just getting frustrated with concealer. I almost gave up on it. I was done with it. But like I said at the beginning, it's the one product that I really felt like made a difference, and I really missed using it. So I made it my mission to find that perfect concealer, the one that really sticks around, the coverage stays put, it doesn't sink into my lines, and it doesn't accentuate my dry under eye. And I think I found it. I am so happy with this concealer, and I've only just discovered it in the month of December. It's been a concealer that has been recommended to me both by my friends and then also my friends here on YouTube. So yes, thank you for the recommendation if this was one of you guys that recommended this to me, because I'm just so excited. So I'll reveal my favorite in the end, and then I'll also talk about the maybe 3 or 4 others that came out on top. The other 10 or so just were pretty much disappointments for me. So hopefully this video doesn't seem too negative, because pretty much 70% of these concealers I was unhappy with. But I also wanted to go through the value of each concealer. When you figure out the cost per ounce, some of these are great values for the money, and I was actually pretty surprised by some of them of how expensive they truly are. So I'll go through the cost, the value. I'll also touch on the ingredients a little bit, and yeah, we'll go through my favorites in the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it's helpful to you guys. We'll go ahead and get started. So the first concealer I was very excited to try. This is the Bare Minerals Bare Skin Complete Coverage Serum Concealer. When I heard the name of this, a serum concealer, I'm like, oh yes, that sounds like my kind of concealer, because I have a super dry under eye, and it sounded like, you know, skincare and a makeup product. But unfortunately, this kind of failed me. And the cost of this seemed like it was on the lower range of a higher end concealer. This is $22, but you're getting 0.2 ounces. When you actually break it down per quarter ounce, per 0.25, you're paying $27 per quarter ounce. I'm using that 0.25 across the gamut because it seems like a quarter ounce is usually the average of what you're getting in a concealer. So when you look at it that way, it is a pricier concealer. This is supposed to have a silky finish, and Bare Minerals also says this is a complete coverage concealer. So I guess that means a full coverage concealer. Now to me, this seems more of maybe medium finish. You can build it up, but it definitely doesn't cover my melasma spots completely. I did love the hydration on this. It really is great for spot covering, just, you know, like I said, those sunspots that I have throughout my face. But underneath the eyes, this is so creasy. It settles into every single line underneath my eye. I do appreciate that it doesn't completely set, so I can kind of pat this out. But even as I pat it out throughout the day, it still seems to settle. So unfortunately, I love the moisturization I get from this, but just not great underneath the under eyes. It just really settles into those fine lines. And then the Jouer, this is the Essential High Coverage Liquid Concealer. This is supposed to be a creaseless soft matte finish. This has hyaluronic acid in here. It comes in 25 shades, and it costs $22, but when you break it down per quarter ounce, you're actually paying $39 per quarter ounce. So this is a pretty pricey concealer. The packaging is very deceiving. It looks huge, but I think with the large doe foot in here that takes up a lot of room, you're just not getting as much product in here. Now this, I love the coverage on this. I feel like it's so brightening. It really cancels out the darkness underneath my eyes. The coverage lasts throughout the day, but the matte finish is just too drying for me. It cracks. It doesn't really settle into my fine lines, but as it kind of separates around your lines, it just creates that like creasy, crepey look. So I was just unfortunately not a fan of this. I definitely went back and forth with this throughout the year, but I think it was on the days where my skin was really hydrated and just extra plump. That's when I really loved this. But on the days, if my under eye was any bit dry, this just really accentuated my lines. And in the picture, I feel like you can really see in my inner corner, they just look dry and crepey and just, it almost looks like I have loose skin in there. Just did not love this on my dry skin days. Again, the coverage was really great, but it just really accentuated any dryness. So maybe if you're on the oily side, you might like this concealer, but for me, it was just way too drying. One thing I wanted to say, I hope the pictures don't seem too dark to you guys. I actually found that the more light I used when I was taking these pictures, it actually was more concealing. It made the concealers look a little bit better. It almost gave a filtered effect. So that's why the pictures look a little darker. So hopefully you guys don't mind that, but I wanted to give that, you know, real life effect. I wanted you guys to see how it really looked in real natural light at the end of the day. And most of these pictures were taken at the end of my day, like around 9:30, 10 o'clock, right before I was washing off my face. So pretty much a 12 to 16 hour wear test for each of these. So just wanted to put that out there. And all right, so let's talk about the next one. Here is a drugstore one that I was so excited about. This is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Radiance Concealer. This has hyaluronic acid. This is supposed to be a medium full coverage concealer. This did not seem full coverage to me. I felt like this really sheared out. It didn't really cover much at all. And I felt like it immediately broke up and I had to try and like pat it in. I would use a brush, I used a beauty blender. Nothing really just gave me that even coverage. You can see in the picture that on my inner corner, it's almost completely off. So the coverage doesn't stick around. I appreciate a medium coverage concealer, but if anything, I think this is sheer to light. This is super sheer. It didn't really cover much at all. I would not use this for a blemish. I wouldn't use it for my melasma spots. It really was just way too sheer for me. And it didn't set either, which I don't usually mind a concealer that doesn't set. I actually like a concealer that I can pat out throughout the day, but it just slid around too much. As far as the value goes, you're getting 0.45 ounces in here. This is one of the best values out of the bunch. This actually costs $2.75 for a 1/4 ounce. So awesome value here. If you like a sheer coverage concealer, maybe you would like this, but I just felt like it slid around too much and the coverage just didn't stick around. Okay, and then the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. This is another one that I was excited about initially, but as I wore it throughout the year, I definitely got more and more disappointed in this. So I don't know what's going on with the stock with this concealer because there's only 3 shades right now available on Ulta. But they do have, let's see, the cost per ounce, it came to $11.33 for 0.25 ounces. You're paying $10 for 0.22 ounces in here. So decent buy for a drugstore concealer. And it's supposed to be a full coverage radiant finish. Now, I initially like the coverage when I apply this, but it immediately, almost like the Makeup Revolution, it just breaks up and looks cakey almost immediately. And you can see in my picture that my left inner corner, it almost looks bumpy, like it caked up at the end of the day. So it just looks really makeup-y and it doesn't really melt into your skin like how I like a concealer too. And I just could not get a good shade match with this. I have the light shade and it's way too yellow for my under eye. I had to use a bunch of different powders to try to make the shade work, and yeah, I just could never really get this to work for me. So bummed because I love a radiant concealer. Another one that I thought I loved, but at the end of the day, every night, I just noticed that build up in my inner corner, and yeah, unfortunately, not a fan of that. All right, so now let's talk about a brand new concealer from NYX. This is their Born to Glow Radiant Concealer. This comes in 24 shades. You're getting 0.14 ounces. This is actually a pretty pricey drugstore concealer. You're paying, it's $10, but you're paying $16 per 1/4 ounce. The tube looks pretty big, but yeah, I guess you're not really getting much in here. It does have a nice spongy applicator, which I love these kinds of applicators. I just find, even though they get messy, I find that you don't overdo it when it comes to a sponge applicator. It only allows you to do like a very thin finish. This is pearl infused and it's supposed to have a buildable finish. Now, when I first applied this, I absolutely loved it. I loved the radiant, almost like luminous finish this gives. It was luminous but didn't accentuate like my under eye creases or anything like that. But it settled into my fine lines almost immediately. You could see the makeup in my indentations. I had to try and pat it out, but I just could not get a smooth finish with this. I was so bummed because this feels so lightweight on the skin. It feels like nothing, but it accentuates every crease and fine line. Even in my inner corner, like along my nose, I felt like it was accentuating my lines. So if you have fine lines and wrinkles, I do not think this would be a flattering concealer. Maybe if you have a super dry under eye and you don't have fine lines, which I guess that's kind of hard to find, maybe then you would like this concealer, but yeah, this just accentuated lines way too much. I had high hopes on this because you guys know I rave about the Born to Glow foundation. That is one of my holy grail ride or die drugstore foundations, but unfortunately the concealer was just too creasy for me, and yeah, just not a fan of that. Now, one from NYX that I was pleasantly surprised by, and I use this on and off throughout the whole entire year. This is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Contour Concealer. This is supposed to have a full coverage matte effect. There's 0.11 ounces in here. It's $8.50. You're paying $19 for a 1/4 ounce. So this is on the pricier side for a drugstore concealer, but I do feel like it's worth it. It comes in 24 shades and it's supposed to be lightweight and non-transferable. And I just love the finish of this. It has one of the most natural skin-like finishes, I think, out of all of the drugstore options here. It just looks like your skin, but it's not too shiny. But I wouldn't call it, they call it a matte finish. I do feel like it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, but very natural looking, feels so lightweight on the skin, and it wears really nicely. You can see in the picture that in my right eye, it did break up slightly and it looks a little makeup-y, but not too bad. I find that throughout the day, the smoothness really sticks around until the very end of the day, maybe like the 8th to 10th hour. That's when it kind of starts to break up. But I think this wears great throughout the day. It's very like liquidy and smooth going on. Again, it feels lightweight. I love the finish of this. One of my favorites here. Now back to a concealer that did disappoint me. This is by First Aid Beauty. This is their Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer. You guys know I rave about their skincare. They're one of my most favorite skincare brands, but this concealer just unfortunately not my favorite. This is $22 for 0.17 ounces. It's $32 so kind of pricey for, you know, you're paying $22. You think you're getting a good buy for a higher end concealer, but as far as the value goes, you're not really, I guess, getting much product in here with only 0.17 ounces. It comes in 11 shades and it's supposed to be a full coverage, buildable, weightless concealer. I would definitely not say this is full coverage. If anything, I would say this is a light to medium. There was days when this did work. Maybe it was when I first started using this, and this is not expired. I haven't had this for that long, but I was just always so disappointed by the application with this. It just always looked uneven and streaky, and even in the picture you can see in my inner corner, the makeup is just all over the place. I think it's probably one of the worst wearing concealers out of the bunch. The coverage just does not stick around. You initially get medium coverage, but I find that is very hard to work with. It's hard to get that even application. It feels so lightweight on the skin, and I really had high hopes for this, but unfortunately this just does not do it for me. And I'm okay, like I said, with the sheer to medium finish concealer, as long as it looks like my skin, but if anything, it made it more apparent that I'm wearing makeup when I have that concealer on. So that's a fail for me. I was definitely unhappy with the wear time and just the uneven application. All right, so now we're getting into the good ones here. This one by Catrice has always been a favorite for me. This is their Liquid Camouflage High Coverage Concealer. This is supposed to be high coverage, long lasting. What kind of finish? They say it's a matte finish. I think it's more of a natural skin-like finish. Comes in 18 different shades. You're paying almost $9 per 0.25 ounces, so pretty good buy for a drugstore concealer. Wears really nicely throughout the day. If anything, you can see a little bit of settling into my fine lines, but not too bad at all. I feel like the finish is very smooth. The coverage is amazing. If you like a lightweight concealer with high coverage, I think you would love this, especially if you're a fan of the Urban Decay Naked Concealer. You're getting that same feel, that same smooth, lightweight finish with the high coverage. I'm always so impressed with the coverage of this when I apply this. Love the finish, love the lasting time, and it's just a great concealer. They just expanded their shade range too, so there's a little bit more options there, which I really appreciate. And yeah, I'm just a huge fan of this. This is probably going to be in my next empties video because yeah, this is out, but yeah, one of my favorites at the drugstore. Another favorite from the drugstore, I included this in my best makeup of 2019. It is just, it never fails me. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. This is $11.99 for 33 ounce, not 33 ounces, whoa, that'd be a lot of concealer for 0.33 ounces. It comes in 30 shades, and when you break it down per 1/4 ounce, it's $9, which is really good. I think that's a great value for your money. It comes in this huge packaging, and you still get that big doe foot. I find that, you know, you're kind of gypped with the product amount when you have that big doe foot applicator, but this CoverGirl hooks you up with a lot of products, so I appreciate that. This is a matte finish, lightweight feel. It doesn't have the coverage listed, but I would say this is medium to full. It's easy to build up. It sets nicely. It sets, but not too drying. Sometimes I don't like a concealer that sets too quickly because I find that kind of kind of shrivels up my skin and it makes my dryness even worse, but this just sets in the most perfect way where it doesn't settle into your lines and it just looks so smooth on the skin. Now, I was so impressed with this because you can see in my picture, my skin looks so dry. You can really see the lines in the inner corners of my nose and my forehead, in between my eyebrows. It was a dry day, and the concealer looks so smooth. You cannot even see the concealer. It's not settling into my fine lines. So I think that impressed me most. If a concealer lasts when my skin is super dry like this, it's a winner for me. Super excited that this doesn't settle. I love that I can get a matte finish with this, but it doesn't accentuate my dryness. I'm just always impressed that even on those dry days, this concealer is virtually invisible. You cannot see any traces of makeup. So love that concealer, definitely one of my favorites. Okay, and then of course, a high-end concealer that is on the top of, I feel like a lot of people's list, is the Tarte Shape Tape Contour Concealer. This is 0.33 ounces for $27. Comes out to $20 per 0.25 ounces, which is an awesome price for a high-end concealer. You're getting a ton of products in here. Comes in 30 shades, so many different options. And I love the shade I have. I have a light medium honey. It has like a peachy base to it, so it does great with canceling out those darker undertones. Really brightening, probably the most brightening concealer I own. It just wakes up the under eye. I just love this. It is very full coverage, but not heavy and cakey in any way. Just like how the CoverGirl concealer is, you don't see any trace of this at the end of the day. It doesn't build up or look cakey or bumpy at all. This is a little bit drying, but not bad. You can definitely see my lines. My under eyes look a little bit crepey, but not like shriveled up, not super dry, just slightly drying. It's not a concealer that's going to stay dewy throughout the day. Love the Shape Tape concealer. I love the wear time with it. It lasts, it's brightening, just one of my favorites. Love it. Another favorite that is way up there now is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Way Liquid Concealer. This is $32 for 0.13 ounces. Now, this is the priciest concealer out of the bunch. For 0.25 ounces, you're paying $61. This is a pricey concealer, but if you're looking for a natural looking concealer, I do think this is worth it. And a little bit of product goes a long way. It has that spongy applicator, so you get like that nice, almost you think it's gonna be a sheer finish, but it covers and cancels all your blue tones underneath your eyes. It really is a super brightening concealer. Love the finish of this. Now, this is slightly creasy. I do find that I have to kind of pat it out and work with it initially, but it melts into the skin and it just wears so nicely. It doesn't set completely where you're going to get that matte finish, which I like because you can still work with this throughout the day. I find that if it's starting to break up ever so slightly, I can take my finger, pat it in a little bit, and I get that smooth finish. So I love that. I like a concealer that's forgiving like that. I find that it's one of those concealers that becomes one with the skin. I love it. One of my favorites. And just a quick tip too, I know everybody complains about how messy this gets. Definitely gets messy, but if you don't twist it up every time. I find that I always have leftover product with this, so I kind of squeeze the tip down, scrape off the extra product, and I'll use that for my under eye before I click it. And I only end up having to click up the product maybe every other time I use it. I find that usually there's residual product left around. Love this concealer. I just love that natural finish. Another brand new concealer. I almost had this video ready to go, but I saw that this was being released and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to test this out. This is a brand new Hourglass Airbrush concealer. I was so excited about this. I absolutely love Hourglass face products. Their powders are amazing. The best I've ever tried. They just become one with your skin. The most gorgeous finish. So I had high hopes for this concealer. So let me first tell you about the details on this. This is $34, 0.2 ounces. It's supposed to be full coverage, natural finish. It comes in 21 shades, pretty good shade range. I definitely recommend going into stores because I was initially going to get a lighter shade and it ended up being a lot darker than I thought it would be when I saw it in person. So go a little bit darker than what you think you'd be, at least if you're around my skin tone. But unfortunately, I hate to say this, I was bummed by this. This failed me. I thought I was gonna love this. The coverage on this, when I first applied this applies so smoothly. You feel like you're using this luxurious concealer. It blends out so nicely. The coverage is just dynamite. Like, it covers everything. It cancels out that blueness underneath the eyes. I just love how this blends out. But when it sets, it cracks. It dries out, it just accentuates fine lines. So bummed because initially this looks great, but it just seems like the dry down time is just too much, maybe a little bit too matte. If this was more along the lines of a natural finish, I feel like this would be gorgeous, but it just sets too matte for me. And that CoverGirl concealer is a matte finish, but for some reason it doesn't give that cracked finish like this does. It doesn't settle into your lines, but it just draws attention to your lines. So really disappointed by this. I think I might actually return this because this is a pricey concealer. It's $34 for 0.2 ounces. This comes to $42.50 per quarter ounce. So there's not much product in here, unfortunately, and it just underwhelmed me. I was really bummed about this. Maybe in the summer if my under eyes, no, because I'm still gonna have lines in the summer. So yeah, no, I don't think this could ever work for me, unfortunately. I love the initial application of this, but as it dried down, it just cracked and it just accentuated my fine lines. Really bummed about that. Let me know if you guys have tried that. Let me know if you're interested in it. Yeah, just really bummed. All right, but we're gonna end on a positive note here. I have two favorites. This one is close to near a favorite, and the last one is like that one I was talking about at the beginning, my holy grail. But this one by Cover FX. This is their Power Play Concealer. I'm so bummed that I just recently picked this up because this is such an awesome concealer. This is $30. You get 0.34 ounces in here. When you break it down per quarter ounce, you're paying $22. So really good price for a higher end concealer. You're getting full coverage with this, and it has a radiant finish. I don't really necessarily think it has a radiant finish. You don't really get that luminous sheen, but you do get that like natural satin look to this. I really appreciate that this looks like skin. It's very skin-like. It melts into your skin. Now the only caveat to this looks awesome if you only need, you know, maybe a 6 to 8 hour wear time on a concealer. I do find that as the day goes on, this does start to break up a little bit. The coverage stays put, but you notice like the makeup-y areas, it starts to get a little bit cakey, maybe by the 8th to 10th hour. So that's the only downfall with this. I just feel like, yeah, it doesn't look super seamless as the day goes on, but oh my gosh, when you first apply this, this just becomes one with your skin. It doesn't settle into your lines. It looks smooth. You get an even application. Coverage, the coverage is awesome. I love the applicator. It has this like ball tip to it. The only thing, you do get a lot of product on this, but you get a ton of product in the actual package. So this is really gonna last. You need a little bit, goes a long way. It's just a great concealer. Wears really nicely throughout the day. It's a shame it does look a little cakey at the end of the day, but that coverage really sticks around. It cancels out your darkness. It's a great concealer. I just love this. And now, grand finale. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this concealer, you guys. This is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. This is their full coverage anti-aging waterproof concealer. This is $26. You get 0.4 ounces in here, so it only comes down to $16 per quarter ounce. One of the best buys out of the bunch when it comes to a higher end concealer. So I appreciate that you're getting a ton of product. The ingredients are great. You're getting peptides in here, hyaluronic acid, there's collagen, also niacinamide. Full coverage. Oh my gosh, this brightens the under eye like nobody's business. It is such a brightening, flattering concealer. It really awakens the under eye. It just makes your eyes pop. It's so great. This is just so brightening, and I think it's because the coverage, the littlest bit goes a long way. I'm telling you, you need like a pinpoint dot. It smooths out really nicely, and it just cancels out everything. Super thick, so it gives the smoothest appearance underneath the eyes. It doesn't look creasy. It wears nicely. Now the one thing with this, it's a super dewy concealer, and I know a lot of people won't like that because it does have that tacky consistency. It doesn't completely set, but I find that with the tiniest bit of Hourglass powder, I mean, you could really use any lightweight powder, it does set nicely, but not completely. So if that bothers you, you may not like this. It's definitely transferable. I could, even after 5 hours, I can touch this and still pick up concealer. So if that's not your jam, it might not be, this might not be for you, but if you have a dry under eye, this will be your best friend. Kind of like my wear day with the CoverGirl concealer. My lines look really apparent, but you cannot see any bit of concealer. There's absolutely no traces of makeup. This looks flawless on the skin. It gives that dewy finish. Your under eye looks hydrated. I just love that. It gives that hydrated, moisturized look. That's my biggest gripe with concealers. They always break up around that flakiness, around the dryness, but this just makes your under eye look refreshed and youthful, and it's just a great concealer. I love it. Thank you for all the recommendations on this. You guys were totally right. And even one of my girlfriends from work recommended this to me too. She's just like, I don't wear that much makeup, but it's the one thing that makes such a difference. She's totally right. You need the little bit of this. It's my new favorite. I love it so much. If you guys like the Tarte Maracuja concealer, I think you would love this as well. But the Tarte concealer it's a little bit more tacky, and I find that it doesn't set nicely with powder. This sets a little better. You don't need a lot of powder. Definitely don't go overboard because it can look cakey with a lot of powder, but just the lightest dusting, it's really pretty, and I just love that dewy finish. Hey guys, real quick, so before delving into the swatches, I just wanted to touch on the ingredients real quick. I really tried my best to see if I could find a pattern with the ingredients when it came to the concealers I like the most. Honestly, the only thing I really noticed was that the ones I didn't like, the more creasier concealers, did have dimethicone very high up on the ingredient list. Now, I said this before, I am totally not against silicones in products. I think they give great occlusiveness to a product, they add that slip, they help hold in moisture, but I don't know, maybe there is a thing with the dimethicone and a creasier concealer. The First Aid Beauty had it pretty high up there, and also the NYX Born to Glow. And then the concealers I did really like, so just to note some things that had really good stuff in them. The Cover FX had niacinamide, which is a great skin brightener, really high up there, so I was excited to see that. The IT Cosmetics also has the niacinamide. I also talked about this already. I think it has the peptides, there's collagen in there. And what I thought was very interesting, the IT Cosmetics has the first ingredient, which wasn't in any of the other concealers, is this, what is this? It's an emollient, it's this caprylic triglyceride. So it's supposedly this non-oily, light skin feeling emollient that can improve the slip of the formula without leaving a tacky residue behind. So I looked this up. I wanted to see if there was any other concealers with this ingredient top on the list. I saw that the Nude Sticks Crayon Concealer had this as the first ingredient, so I'm dying to try that concealer out now. But I just thought that was interesting that, you know, my favorite concealer of the bunch had that first ingredient that was unique to all of them in the bunch. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. I wanted to throw that in. I feel like I can't talk about a product without talking about ingredients. So just a little tidbit for you, but let's go into the swatches. Yay, I finally found that Holy Grail concealer. So excited about this. Thank you for the recommendations. Let me know down below if there's any other concealers you'd recommend for a dry under eye. I'd love to maybe even do a part 2 of this video and test out more of your favorites. I think that would be really fun. There are some other ones I still want to try, like the Josie Marin. What's that one called? The Vibrancy concealer, I want to say. That one sounds awesome. It sounds perfect for a dry under eye, and yeah, there's just a few that I've had on my list. So let me know if this video was helpful to you guys, if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys.